When we talk about these huge world-changing movements, all the attention usually goes to the founder, right? But what about the person who comes after? The one whose job it is to make sure a brilliant vision doesn't just fizzle out. Well, that's who we're talking about today. We're diving into the life of Abdul Razzaq Gilani, the son of a spiritual giant who took his father's incredible legacy and helped turn it into something that would last for centuries. He's this absolutely crucial link in the chain that honestly almost no one talks about. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to set the scene, understand the mystical world he was born into. Then, we'll zoom in on Abdul Razzaq himself. After that, we'll see how he handled the massive responsibility of leadership, and finally, we'll look at the mind-blowing global legacy he helped build. So, to really get a handle on Abdul Razzaq and why he was so important, we have to travel back in time. We need to understand the spiritual world he inherited. What was in the air back then? At the heart of it all is Sufism. Now think of it this way. Sufism is all about the inner journey. It's not just about the external rules and rituals of religion. It's about a direct, personal connection to the divine. It's about transforming your own heart and soul. Okay, so within that Sufi world, Abdul Razzaq's father founded was called the Qadiriyya. And this wasn't just some small group. It became one of the most widespread Sufi orders in history. His dad was a towering figure, a legend in Baghdad. Can you just imagine the pressure, the weight of that legacy knowing everyone is looking at you to fill those gigantic shoes? So with all that context swirling around, let's zoom in on the man himself. Who exactly was Abdul Razzaq Gilani when you strip away the famous family name? His life, from 1134 to 1207, was basically a bridge. He was born right as this new spiritual movement was getting started, and his leadership was the thing that carried it from its foundation into its future. He was, in a way, the essential second chapter of the story. Whoa, that's a mouthful, right? But stick with me, because this name isn't just a name, it's like a mini biography all on its own. Every single part tells us something important about him. Let's break it down real quick. First step, Syed. This is a big deal. It means he was a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. That alone gave him this immense spiritual and social respect from the moment he was born. Then you've got Tajuddin, which means crown of the religion. Now this wasn't something he inherited. No, he earned this title. He earned it by becoming one of the top legal and religious scholars in the entire region, the Mufti of Iraq. Al-Gilani is pretty straightforward. That's the family name. It connects him right back to his father's hometown and the legacy he was now in charge of. And this last one, this is fascinating. Sultan ul-Faqr, or Sultan of Spiritual Poverty. I know, it sounds a little strange, but in Sufism, this is one of the highest honors you can get. It means you've completely mastered all your worldly desires. And get this, he was only the fourth person in his spiritual lineage to ever reach that level. But here's the kicker. Despite this huge, impressive name and all these titles, by all accounts, his personality was the complete opposite. He was known for being humble, modest, and quiet. He wasn't a guy who sought the limelight. He actually preferred to be alone, studying and praying. So that really begs the question, doesn't it? How does a deeply pious, solitary scholar like this step up and lead a whole spiritual movement that's starting to grow? How did he carry that mantle? This right here, this is absolutely key to understanding everything. It's called the silsila, the spiritual chain. In Sufism, authority and knowledge aren't just written in a book. They're passed down person to person in an unbroken line all the way back to the Prophet himself. Think of it like a sacred handshake passed down through time. And Abdul Razzaq? He was the next hand in that chain. So in the year 1166, the torch was passed. It was his turn. He inherited it all. The community, the school, the whole spiritual order his father had built from nothing. It was all on his shoulders now. And just like he received that legacy, he made sure to pass it on. He had 5 sons who then carried the teachings forward. And what's really amazing is that today, so many people with the family name Gilani, especially in places like Pakistan and India, can trace their family trees right back to him. The lineage continues. All right, so how did this all go from a family-run school in Baghdad to a global phenomenon? This is where Abdul Razzaq's quiet, steady leadership really shows its power. He laid the foundation for a legacy that would literally span the world. He was the anchor. His job wasn't about dramatic, flashy expansion. It was about something way more important: consolidation. He used his scholarly authority to create this solid center of gravity in Baghdad, making sure his father's teachings were preserved perfectly. It's that strong foundation that allowed the order to later spread everywhere without falling apart. And because that foundation was so solid, look what happened over the centuries. The order branched out, creating all these different suborders. Each one adapted to the local culture, whether it was in Morocco or Indonesia, but they all held on to that core identity that was passed down through the Gilani family. And, just look at this map. This is the incredible result. A spiritual movement that started in 12th century Baghdad now has followers all across Asia, Africa, and even parts of Europe. It's just a powerful reminder of how one humble, dedicated scholar guided a tradition through its most critical moment. It really leaves you with this powerful question, doesn't it? The survival and spread of something this massive is never an accident. It all depends on these pivotal figures. Not just the famous founders everyone knows, but the steady, quiet successors like Abdul Razzaq Gilani, who just focus on keeping the flame alive. His story really shows that sometimes the greatest legacies aren't built with grand gestures, but with quiet, dedicated stewardship.